People are beginning to find their strength. They're in numbers. They're starting to feel less divided. They're starting to get more courageous. Hello, this is Carrie O'Donnell from Tarot Soul Writer. And if you would like a personal reading with me, please go to my website, tarotsoulwriter.com, and I'd be happy to do a reading for you. Today, we are going to look at April 2025 predictions, what my guides wanted to share about what is coming up next month. I want to preface this by saying we are moving into a very difficult time, a time with a lot of hardships for many people. Maybe not all people, but many people. A thrill seeker, a flash in the pan, so impatient, gang involvement. Change is coming. They embezzle, swindle. I pretend to care and then steal all you have. You are nothing to me. I gain from the misfortunes of others. There are issues with Leon's rockets and cars. Lots of new distractions. Anxiety. I could lose everything here. Should I retreat? I'm suspicious of everybody. Paranoid. Drugs begin to take their toll. He is double dealing. I'm hiding something. It's hidden in a maze. Smoke and mirrors. This is a sinking ship. In April, I'm getting that there are even more issues with his rockets and his cars. And this is creating a lot of anxiety. I could lose everything here. Should I retreat? That's what his soul is saying. We know he has experienced some anxiety in the month of March concerning the stock in his company. But I feel like April, there's even more anxiety. And it seems to be bordering on paranoia. So they said substances will take their toll. What he's taking is actually creating even more paranoia and erratic behavior. And when they said lots of news distractions, I almost feel like they're actually using Leon as a news distraction. Like, just do your thing and, come out with a chainsaw, whatever it is you have to do. But what you hear and see from him in the month of April, they're using as news distractions. What's going on with Leon is he's feeling real anxiety about, they're using him and potentially he could lose everything. They said he's double dealing. So we know that there are other countries that he is using to make money. We had that thing that happened in March where he was potentially going to sit in on some information about China. So he has dealings with other nations that it's like double dipping. And I really feel like he's hiding something. It's in a maze. I found this really interesting because when I had done a reading previously, right after the election, I had seen former presidents and people like Dick Cheney, and they showed me a maze. And they said that someone like Dick Cheney, for example, might know the dark spaces, the dark corners of this maze. And I saw like a maze that was dark with cobwebs and so forth. It was a very interesting image. And I feel like I am getting the same feeling here. Like he's creating smoke and mirrors. There's some sort of underground. There's some sort of dark paths and crevices, and he may be hiding something. Is it money? Is it knowledge or intel? I'm not sure, but he's creating this smoke and mirror, and he's trying to hide who he is really dealing with. He's making a plan. He says, this is a sinking ship. So already he's making plans like, okay, maybe Tesla goes down or my contracts with the government, with the rockets might go down, but I am creating paths to survive, to escape. Okay, I'm hiding something. Unexpected news. Surprise. Is this a joke? Receiving a letter. Unstable. Stop. Start. Redo. Repeat. Failure. There are losses, broken hearts, tears. The people are tangled in red tape, forms, paperwork. This is more than I can handle. He has our information. He is attacking the system. I must go in person? What? So slow. I am blocked by the government. We are speaking out. This needs to be fixed. The stock market drops. Financial issues are out of control. Distress, abuse. He is fiddling while Rome burns. We are watching him. We are watching where he puts the money. The people have experienced a real shakeup. Act now. He must step down. There are consequences for your actions. So there's a lot going on in this segment. I'm going to start by saying, because I know my viewers, I get these comments. I say one thing and people run with it and they go to their worst possible scenario. Like I might give a prediction for April that's very challenging. And then they're like, oh my God, we're doomed. Just say we're doomed. Like, no, I didn't give you predictions for the next 20 years. Okay, I'm giving you predictions for the next 4 weeks. So we have to put things in perspective. And I'm going to tell you that I don't get that Social Security is going to go away. The grand majority of you are going to have your checks in the month of April. But the problem are that some of you may not. We are going to start getting a breakdown in the system. Now, we already know what's happening, right? Like that's already happened. They're starting to fire people. They're starting to change the rules for how you can get Social Security or how you can fix mistakes. But all of that is going to come to a head in April. And what you're going to see is a collapse of the system as we know it. And some of you who are not on an autopilot, there might be an error. It's unstable right now. There's a failure of the system. Stop, start, redo, repeat. There are going to be some of you who have those interruptions because maybe there was a mistake and maybe it needs to be fixed. But the frustration is that you have to go in person or you get some letter. I love that. Unexpected news, surprise, receiving a letter. What? Is this a joke? Like it might say all of a sudden that, like that gentleman who they said he was not alive, or maybe you get a letter that says something different. There's a change in your payment or something that's happening that isn't right. You go to rectify it and you get caught up in the red tape. When I got that line, this is more than I can handle, I don't think that that's just the people. I think it's the people at the Social Security offices, the people who are working on your behalf. It's like, I can't do this anymore. You're going to have a complete breakdown of not just systems, but people. People are going to start to have breakdowns. And this is like the beginning of, all I can say is a real rebellion from the people. You're going to see with this instability, a stock market drop that's connected to this. And I love the line, fiddling while Rome burns. I actually had to look that up because I'm like, that's definitely a saying. And apparently it's a saying that came from the Rome and Nero, where they said he was fiddling while Rome burns or something. It had something to do with Nero. And basically what I think is going to happen here is while people are suffering or trying to figure things out and trying to rectify mistakes, we're going to see the Melon Felon golfing or showing a total lack of concern for the American people. I kind of felt like fiddling when Rome burns. I felt like we'd see him on the golf course or doing whatever it is he does with like no concern, like everything's fine, which is only going to anger the people more, right? And watching him, watching where they put the money. There seems to be a potential or alleged shuffling of funds here from Social Security. Somebody is investigating this. Somebody is really watching this situation from behind the scenes. but the people begin to go into rebellion mode. He needs to step down. There need to be consequences for these actions. And since I'm getting such a strong feeling around this in April, I feel like this is a lot more than just a couple people who have problems with their Social Security. But I would also say the grand majority of people are getting checks. Let's just say that the wrench in the system is going to rear its ugly head in April. Be prepared if you can. There's been a lot of talk about Trump's Liberation Day, April 2nd. I believe this is a day that he is going to talk about tariffs and his plans there. I got a speech, and I feel like it's around this whole Liberation Day situation. Like he's calling it like a new Independence Day or something to that effect. And I'm getting some sort of speech at a rally or to the public that is incorporating more than just talk about tariffs and the economy, but throws in a few other things. It's almost like, okay, this is what we've done so far. Isn't it great? And this is what I got. There is a speech, a public statement. Immigrants are getting caught at the border. We are eliminating them. Somebody or something is reinstated. They can escape. You can't escape. Our relationship is forever broken. This is just a public spectacle. They will apologize and pay their debt to us. Stolen goods will be returned. A news announcement. We will distribute money from the things we have eliminated. He is offering a donation. This is trickery. If you receive money, there will be strings attached. So the first part, even though this Independence Day might be about the tariffs and the money or the economy that he was originally going to talk about, I guess, I got this whole thing about immigrants. Okay, look at what we're doing. They're being caught at the border. We are eliminating them as if it's a good thing. They can't escape. You can't escape. This was interesting. This came from the guides. So I almost felt like this whole border thing it's a double-edged sword. It's almost like if you really intuit what he's saying, he's like, okay, we're getting people at the border, but you also can't leave. You also can't leave. You're stuck here because nobody else wants you, or there could be retaliatory border situations where, again, I kept saying there are going to be issues with Americans entering foreign countries. I said it before, and I'm getting it here now. Somebody or something is reinstated. I'm not really sure about this. I wrote, could this be related to ICE or border control? So it could be something about reinstating a policy that was considered illegal, or reinstating a person that we felt was really toxic. I almost feel like it's more policy. I hope it's not the kids in cages. I hope to God it's not something like this, but it's something that they stopped that they're going to redo, and it has something to do with immigration and the border. But of course, he's going to say, this is wonderful. This is great. Our relationship is forever broken. This is just a public spectacle. This may have to do with Canada and Mexico and the tariffs, because he kept saying they will apologize to us, to pay their debt to us. Stolen goods will be returned. You know, this idea that they're just taking from us and we're going to take it back. So you're going to see that kind of theme in his speech. And then he's going to make some announcement that all of this money from the tariffs and the money that they've saved by slashing all of these public programs, we're going to offer you some sort of a check. He's going to make some announcement, but the guide said it's trickery and it's money with strings attached. It's as if you accept this money from him or the government, there's some sort of strings attached. I'm going to take that as a warning. I don't think everybody is going to get these checks. And maybe the strings attached are, I'm only going to give money to red states, or I'm only going to give money to people who supported me. So that could be the strings attached, but just be really careful, because it's as if I accept this money, I'm accepting some sort of allegiance to the Melon Felon. There was definitely something attached to that. We are going to resurrect education in this country. We have the solution. Then I saw a scene from Independence Day, which I thought was interesting because there was this inspiring speech by the president, like, this is Independence Day and, you know, we are going to fight and so forth. So there was that kind of energy under it. I will protect you, Christian education. Education loan or debts not paid. What do we do now? This will be a battle for justice. So much anger. We will fight and we will win. We are looking for some solutions. You can always join the military service, required service, money with strings attached. Our budgets will be limited. We need to weigh both sides of this situation, pros and cons. So here it is. I've always wondered, what are they going to do here? What is the end game? And I think I got it there with that last passage. First, I feel like we're going to get a lot of money funneled toward Christian education or religious education. I want to say religious education, but they specifically said Christian. So I feel like this is related to the Christian right that has supported him, the evangelicals, and I will protect you. So I am going to funnel this money that supposedly, allegedly was being used incorrectly with the Department of Education. I'm going to funnel that to you, Christian education. Then there was this whole thing about student loans, education debt. So there are people who have student loans. Their payments have skyrocketed. You know, what are we going to do with all this debt? Because people are going to start to default. And there's going to be so much anger from people. Like, I can't afford this payment. You got rid of income-driven payment plans. I don't make enough money. What am I going to do? I can't afford a payment that just tripled. And in fact, I actually saw a news story of someone's payment who was about $500 a month, and it went to almost $3,000 a month. That's more than most people's rent. This is unsustainable. And that's when the government comes in. So instead of giving help, they're like, oh, well, you know, we could install required military service, and then we could say, hey, if you come into the military, young people, we will pay for your education. It's not money up front. It's not like, oh, we'll give you the money now, but then you owe us service. It's more like, you give us service. You give us military service. We're going to require this in order for you to get money from the government. Will they get money from the government? Probably not. But then it's like Congress is saying, well, I don't know. We'll have to see if we have it in the budget. We're going to look at both sides of this issue, pros and cons, which makes me feel like even the Republican Congress is not going to be too keen on this idea. Like, they know this is not going to fly well with their constituents. Even this could be like, whoa. So instead of doing the draft thing, it's like, we're going to say to the young people, just join the military. And then if you survive it, we'll give you money to go to college. But we know they're not really good on promises. So this is going to happen, and you are going to see later in the reading why this would be important for what's coming up. This particular segment didn't come up in the original soul writing session that I did on Sunday. So many people asked about the U.S. Post Office that I asked my guide specifically what was going to happen with the post office in April. And I got, there will be a sudden breakdown. Bulldoze it. Offices begin to close. You are bankrupt. Don't worry, we'll fix you. This is all stupidity and carelessness. America has an affection for the post office, a tender heart. We need to negotiate, find balance, nonpartisan. It's going to court. A judge rules. They can set some limits for efficiency. Someone new takes command. We will cut what we have to. We have to accept these limits as absolutes. We're exhausted. We need a miracle. So what I see here may actually begin in April, but it might take a little longer to manifest. I don't get a dismantling of the US Post Office, but like many of the other offices, I'm getting some backdoor manipulation here. The first is, let's shut down offices. Let's make it not work. Like they said, you're bankrupt, bulldoze it. There's a sudden breakdown, kind of like what they're doing to Social Security. So they're going to do the same script. And then when it begins to be broken and there's interruption to service, etc., they'll say, don't worry, we'll fix you. We'll fix you. We're going to privatize this, right? That's their goal. Whereas the people are like, this is stupidity and carelessness. In other words, there was nothing wrong with the post office. You just made it so. And now you come in and this is giving you fuel for what you want to do. There are a lot of people, I feel like, in the House and the Senate that know that the people have a sweet spot in their heart for the post office. It's in the Constitution. This is not easily undone. And they also know that rural Americans rely on the US Post in a big way. So they're very hesitant. Like, we need to come up for some solution here that's nonpartisan. But then they're like, no, it's going to court. So this may go to the Supreme Court at some point. And I feel like the judge's ruling, they're doing that weird like ruling, like, no, you can't get rid of it completely and just privatize it. So they're not going to go there. That's good news. But they're going to give them some loophole. But we are going to allow you to make some changes to make the post office more efficient. That part is not unconstitutional. This is going to give leeway for a new leader to come in and to create limits at the post office. There might be some things that you can do, some things you can't, some things that are privatized, some things that are not. There are going to be some new limits and new changes, and the people are just exhausted. They're like, we need a miracle here. We need a miracle. So it's not going to go over well with the American public. Immigrants are in danger. No tourists. Travel will be difficult. Foreigners continue to be held or arrested at the border. We need a plan to get out of here, but where do we go? Some Americans begin to make plans to leave the country. Exodus. We need to flee. We're just going to get more of this immigrant situation in April, but it's going to begin to really affect travel, just regular tourists going in and out. And there are going to be some legal immigrants in this country, or some mixed families, like my kids are American citizens, but maybe my parents aren't, that type of thing. And even though they have the proper paperwork, green cards, whatever, they're going to start to make plans to leave the country. It's almost like, we can't trust this. What if we're shuffled off to some foreign prison somewhere and nobody will even know what happened to us? And this is a real outcome for a lot of people. And so Americans and mixed families and just foreigners who might want to vacation in the United States, they're just not going to cross the border. And if they have the ability, they're going to start to flee. And you're going to see a real exodus from America. If you have the money, if you're able, you're trying to get out of here, which is not a good sign. More tornado damage where the winds come together. I assume that was in the plains. So where the winds come together. There will be casualties. I'm seeing Oklahoma this time for the tornadoes. So I just want to say, last month I had gotten a huge tornado. Like, I saw a bullseye around that Texas, Arkansas area, and I saw a bullseye there. One of my viewers commented there was some weather there, but what I think I was seeing was that other big band of tornadoes that came through, I think, east of that, more in the deep south and up. So I missed the placement of it, but I think that's what I was seeing, the more serious tornadoes that happened there. So I might not be 100% with my bullseye, but I kind of feel where the winds come together. And then I saw Oklahoma. So I feel maybe a big one or a bunch of outbreaks of tornadoes more in the Oklahoma area. So take that with a grain of salt. There will be casualties from this. So it's not going to be like a little storm. It's going to be one that you would see in the news that has some big damage. I got an earthquake. I'm not saying it's like a doomsday earthquake. It might be around a 5. I feel like it's significant enough to cause damage. So I got something that is stable is no longer stable. There's property damage, a threat to safety. I see mountains and a river. I see water, a dam, California. I'm getting Northern California on the Oregon border, Sacramento and above, Mount Shasta, Shasta Dam, that area. So that's kind of how I wrote it down. I don't know California, but I feel like I was definitely in the north. I'm seeing Oregon on the map. And then I'm like, I see a dam and the water and the whole thing. And I think I'm in that Mount Shasta kind of area. So I'm assuming that's north of Sacramento. That could be where the earthquake originates. I feel like they're getting a significant earthquake that would cause some property damage. So I wasn't getting so much casualties, but I got a threat to safety. And I'm wondering if it has something to do with the dam that I saw. We're checking to make sure everything's okay. Make sure there are no cracks, like that kind of thing. So nothing that people in Northern California haven't dealt with before, but I do get that there's an earthquake that is a little bit more significant that they will have to be prepared for. People will feel betrayed by new rules and policies. I'm seeing fire again, but not sure if this is metaphorical or literal. The people are getting angry because they are not getting any help. So maybe these are fires that break out. I don't know if we're in fire season in certain places, but I think the new rules and policies, I mean, we just got on camera just the other day in one of the cabinet meetings that Kristi Noem, who said we're getting rid of FEMA. I felt like it was more attached to that, whether they eliminate FEMA completely or they are just doing what they're doing with Social Security on the post office, just making it not work, firing people, etc., that the people who are going to experience, say, property damage in Northern California or casualties or whole towns that are in need in the Plain States, or since I saw fire, is it fires, forest fires, and they're in need for protection? Whatever this is, people are going to start to be angry. People are betrayed. People are feeling like, who's going to help me? I think the guides are bringing up the weather thing, not so much because these are things that we don't experience normally, but because our country is not going to be helping the people like they used to. This is where a lot of my reading turns to the north. And I had to go through this a couple of times. I still don't know if I'm 100% right, but I'm going to just tell you what I got, and maybe this will make more sense as we move through the month. It begins with a discussion with my guides on the Earth and its magnetic field. Watch the Earth's magnetic field. I see Earth grid and magnetic poles. Aurora Borealis. We are worried about the future. 3 nations fight for the resources of the North. China, US, Russia. Stealth and strategy are necessary. Trust will be broken. We have new plans to lay claim to this land. These are long-term plans for a big payoff. Be bold. Mother Earth speaks. There is a balance between economic security and the Earth's environment. Prosperity comes through balance. You must be a caretaker of the Earth. You are biting off more than you can chew. The enthusiasm for these plans will die as you create unexpected burdens for mankind. Overactivity creates imbalance. It is a gamble we have to take. Success at any cost. There is volcanic activity, rising gases, methane. This is dangerous if pursued without caution. something bubbles to the surface. This is a time for reflection. You need to think. Keep things stable. What are you bringing to this energy field? Be on guard. The shadow ruler orders a surprise attack to coerce and manipulate the North. It's as if they're telling me this message about the Earth's magnetic field and like the big picture, what the shadow ruler wants as the end game, what the three countries want as the end game, and how it's going to affect something magnetically, vibrationally on the planet. There's something big here. There's like a warning, like, don't do this. You're going to cause some sort of imbalance. I mean, the guides really wanted to talk about this whole energy grid thing. Now, I know that the poles have shifted a little bit. I'm not getting anything like a pole shift. Don't interpret this as that. But I was getting sort of a warning that something was happening magnetically. And if I'm drilling for resources, if I'm mining, if I'm doing all of those things, it's creating even more of an imbalance. And for some reason, and I don't know how this is, I'm not a scientist and I've never heard anything like this before, but the methane gas that's released from the permafrost, and the more you drill and the more or whatever it is they plan on doing, this is bad. And it's not just how we know, like, it would increase global warming and warm up the planet even faster. This was beyond that. It had something to do with the magnetic forces of the grid of the planet. And I don't know how that would be true, but they seem to be very concerned about that. And the voice of what I would like to say as, let's just call them the greedy people, the people in these nations fighting for resources. They're just like, well, screw that. We need to be bold. And we want claim to this land. We want claim to these resources. We are in this for the long-term payoff. And that's when Mother Nature's like, okay, but you can be prosperous and have abundance from this land, but you have to keep something in balance. You just can't go in there like crazy, because something is going to slip. Something's going to go awry. And of course, they don't listen. They're just like, success at any cost. We're not listening to you, Mother Earth. That's when I'm getting, in the short term, we're going to notice some signs in April. A lot more volcanic activity, especially in northern areas. We're going to see rises in gases or methane. I just don't know if this would be reported on. And this idea of something bubbling to the surface. I feel like scientists are going to find something, or they're going to learn something coming to the surface. We're getting more evidence. We know that if we do X, that Y is going to happen. But they're not listening. They're not listening. But Spirit just keeps saying, you got to reflect on this before you just go in there. You got to think about this. And he doesn't. The Melon Felon makes plans to coerce and manipulate the North. So this moves into my reading on the Melon Felon and his energy, and the main message that I got about April that I felt was very concerning to me. He dives deeper into authoritarianism, so self-righteous, power, ego, bluster. Abuse of power, foolish decisions. There still could be issues with his heart or stroke. You are ignoring your health. I'm exhausted, but they love me. He's out of touch with reality. The crowd boos and rebels against him. So much the same in April with him. He's, still pretending like everyone loves him. He has a mandate, even as people boo him, because you're going to see a lot more rebellion. But he just keeps going. He just keeps going, and he's still ignoring his health. There are problems traveling across the border. There are misunderstandings, judgments without evidence. We can't negotiate. An unwanted proposal. The U.S. raises its sword. There are threats of attack. Our bonds are severed. We will move forward to assert our rights. You have turned your back on a friend. Such deep disappointment. We are divorced. We were devoted to you. So much emotion. But now we will confront you. We rebel. Conflict, self-defense. We will fight. I get an issue with a commercial airline plane shot at. and rockets that hit a battleship. I want to start with Canada. I do not see any kind of invasion of Canada. I think the sword raises its sword, threats of attack, unwanted proposal. I think a lot of this has to do with the tariffs that are going to come into play. I think that they're going to be more aggressive against Canadians coming into this country, misunderstandings and judgments without evidence. It's going to be people who think they have the right paperwork, and then they're just thrown in a detention center where they can't negotiate. How do we negotiate for these people? We don't even know where they are, that kind of thing. You're going to see more of this, and specifically targeting Canadians. I'm sorry to say. And he's using that, and he's threatening attack. Like, if you don't do what I want with this money situation, we're going to come into Canada. And of course, you know, Canada goes into, you're no longer my ally, you're my enemy, and we're going to fight. I'm brokenhearted, but we're going to fight. And so you're going to see a huge change in that relationship in April. I get that there's some commercial airline that it's either going from Canada to the US to Canada. There's like a border crossing with this plane, as planes do, and someone is shooting at the plane. I don't think the plane goes down. I didn't see that, but I get some sort of a attack, and it almost feels like a warning. Like, don't think we won't do this. Like, that's the feeling I was getting. So you might see it in the news as something happened to this plane, or it had to turn around, but I think there's a warning shot or something to that effect. I see this prominent vision of a battleship exploding. But I also got this feeling of a submarine too, so I don't know if a submarine's involved. And I'm not 100% sure where this battleship is. I know that we had ships being shot at and so forth. I don't know if this is in the same area. Again, I thought that when I saw that in March, that was Syria. But I think what I was picking up, and Iran wanted to get in the game, but I think what I was picking up is that situation with Yemen. So you have that. So maybe it's there, but for whatever I'm seeing here, it's connected to the north. So it's either a Canadian ship, or it has something to do with trade with Canada, but we're going to do something to your ships. Or maybe it is a ship in the north, but I don't know if we have that much activity up there. But I am getting something with a ship. There's an explosion on a ship, and it's related to the north. The White House wants our resources. Stick them up. Give me your wallet and nobody gets hurt. We have a treaty, an agreement. Let's make a deal. Usury. We are losing hope. We will take your land. Shameless. We were friends, but now I see the truth. We will never be American. So Greenland is also getting threats of attack. I don't think that they want to invade Greenland, but more than Canada, I actually felt for the very first time in this reading that they are more than willing to do it. I always felt like maybe they would go after Panama first. So I was really surprised that they keep saying, and I did this reading like 3 times, and I keep getting activity with Greenland. Now, it's going to start with coercing. Remember, the guides had said that. They're going to coerce the people in the north for their resources. Stick them up. Give me your stuff. And nobody will get hurt, right? And we won't invade. You just have to do what we tell you to do. But Greenland isn't gonna do that. Greenland doesn't play. They're like, no, we're not doing that. It's not happening, and we will never be American. So you're not taking us. Like Ukraine, they'd be like, this is who we are. And if we have to fight to the end, we will. And that's the message that comes out. That's when I get the threat. We will attack, violence, but we will be precise. Between the mountains and the small island, we will conquer. You are isolated. There is no escape. You better look at things more clearly before you make a mistake. Foreign occupation is unclear. Your bluster seems more for social media. So there is an actual threat when they refuse to go along with giving up their resources. And there is some threat of a physical attack on Greenland. This idea of being precise, they kept saying between the mountains and the island. Now, I was looking at the map of Greenland, and we have a base that's more on the western end of Greenland, and that's the part that's facing Canada. And I don't know if there are any mountains on that side, but you have all the little islands to the west. So up that sea is where a lot of the population is. But there's also on the eastern part that's more toward Europe, you have that little area where there are mountains, and then you have Iceland, which is like the little island. The only thing is, my rational mind's like saying there's not much there as far as something strategic to threaten them with. I feel like more the people are on the other side. So I'm not sure like which side, but they're being precise about a certain area, which would make them vulnerable. Like there's nowhere you can go kind of thing. Like you're not going to be able to fight. We're going to cut you off. So maybe it is sort of between Iceland. So Europe can't easily come in. I'm not 100% sure, but these are things I just don't know about, but that's what they said. And it's almost like Greenland's like, I think he's just doing his stuff like that the Melon Felon does, just talks the big talk, more for social media or more for a soundbite, that kind of thing. And then I got attack in the north. I don't believe in boundaries. I do what I want. He is thinking about an invasion, overthrowing a leader. What is my next conquest? We have some choices. I'm at a threshold of a decision. Karma will come back around, so we have to make a decision soon about the north. Things are finally coming together. Things will be different now. We will find treasures on earth. The world is mine. I see a dragon on his hoard of gold. Let's move forward, clear whatever is on our path. I want a clean slate. Destruction is necessary for reconstruction. We betray our friends. Our ship will sink, but we will control the narrative. This is an experiment. I do see a fire, a submarine or a boat that could be fired upon. There are now consequences. Soldiers are torn. Duality. Positive, negative. The energy rises. You are now part of a greater force. We are burning it all to the ground, but we will create a new America. They put fuel on the fire and ignited an inferno. Passions and energy rise. There is work to be done. We need to keep going. The rat race is going to have to survive with one less rat. So let me explain what I think is going on here. You first have the Melon Felon who says, I don't believe in boundaries. He's thinking of an invasion. They were just telling me about the North. So maybe he's thinking about Canada. Maybe he's thinking about Greenland, all the things that he said. But I feel like this is North. I don't think this is Panama right now. And it's all about the mining or the hoards of gold, the minerals and the things they can take. This will make us rich. Someone said you have to make a decision now because karma is coming back around. So there is some sense that his people are feeling they're coming for us. So if you're going to do this whole Greenland thing, you better do it fast because I don't know how much time we have left to hold back what's coming. The people are starting to rise. Courts are starting to rule against us. At some point, it's hitting the fan. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, you got to make a decision now, and we got to act now. This idea of clearing the path. We need to destroy everything in order to rebuild what we want. I also thought about the Middle East with that. So I was really confused. Like, are they talking about continuing in the Palestine area? Is that what this attack is? Is this ship that I see fired on more out there and it has something to do with Palestine? I don't know, because every time I asked, I keep feeling like I'm in the North. So I feel like this has something to do with Greenland specifically. And they're making a plan. They said this is an experiment. It's almost like they're testing the waters. And I felt like a ship or a submarine was being fired upon. I think allegedly and for entertainment purposes only. Russia is part of this. I feel like that's part of the voices here. Like, we need to make our move now. And we're controlling the narrative. So they're making a plan. It's like a warning shot, like the whole airplane thing that I saw. We're serious about an attack. We're going to do something to a ship, or there's going to be something from a submarine or something. But we control the narrative. So we're going to say, oh, it was Russia, or Russia did this, or I don't know. They're going to make up some story that it's not them, but it's them. Okay. And I feel like Greenland and Canada and all the countries and Europe, they're going to know. I know what's really going on here. So we don't believe you. And we got the message. It's like they're sending a message. We're coming in unless you want to save your people and give up your goods. So they're going to make a move. Watch out for it, because it's a warning shot to Greenland. But here's the thing. The military now has decisions to make, because they're like, these are my friends. And it's as if the Melon Felon says, you are now part of a greater force now, a greater vision now, this military. It's not going to be like it was before. And this idea of duality, positive, negative, soldiers torn, it's as if they know this is unconstitutional, what we are about to do and what we could be doing. And I don't know how I feel about this. And it's going to ignite even more of a rebellion than I got with Social Security. They were showing me that this is like the thing, like when we're basically threatening our allies, when you make that move and that threat of physical violence, it's as if you're going over another line. Does that make sense? So once the American people start to get a whiff of this and to understand this is what's happening here, you're going to see even more of rebellion and riots and so forth. I have to explain the line, the rat race is going to have to survive with one less rat. That comes from a film. I saw the film Baby Boom, and that is something Diane Keaton says in the film. I think it was from like 1987. It was about a woman who was a big wig in New York in a huge corporation, and she was all about her work. And then she finds out her cousin left her a child when her cousins were unalived. And she has to make a decision about having a full life and raising a child and maybe getting married and what she would consider success, which is just working all the time for the corporation. And she starts a new business and it takes off. And the very corporation that fired her for wanting to take care of her new child wants to buy her out. And at the end, she decides that if she could build a company and make things great before, like she could do this with her own company. And she tells them the rat race is going to have to survive with the one less rat. She flips and she's just like, no, I'm going to do this on my own. What I think here, because I wrote somebody from his side flips or defies Trump. I feel like this is the military. I feel like when he says there's work to be done, we need to keep going. Once we make the shot, once we make the physical threat, if they don't give in to that, then we have to keep going. That's what the Melon Felon wants to do. But someone in the military is like, no, I'm not going to do this. This is illegal. It goes against the Constitution. Talk about rats jumping ship. Like the rat race is going to have to survive without me. We are betrayed, so angry. We are ready for justice. We are battle ready. We have evidence of a scandal. We will begin by taking down Leon on an airplane. There is a plan for entertainment purposes only, but I don't know what this airplane thing is. I've always had this vision like he's leaving and then they take him. I don't want you to think like I'm seeing shooting down the plane. I wasn't getting that. It's like the plane takes off. I'm on the plane. I think I'm escaping. And then they bring the plane back in. That's the vision that I have gotten for a very long time. And I found it interesting that they are ready for justice. They're ready for battle, but it's not battle against Greenland or Canada or Panama or anyone else. It's battle against a person who is going against the Constitution. He definitely loses the military in April, and it has something to do with the northern conflict. They punish those who resist, who protest. This makes me sick. I see Kamala. She wants to stand in her power. Emotion within her rises, but she is forced in the shadows. This is so frustrating. We need to explore our options for holding power. In this segment, I do feel like we're going to see more protesters. I think there are going to be a variety of ways in which protesters are punished. So you need to be very careful. Kamala seems to be in the wings, but she seems to be held back on purpose. I did not do a reading on why. That could be something we could explore later on, but she's very frustrated watching everything unfold. The devil is watching you while you rest. They listen and see you even during your passive activities. There will be surprise attacks, imprisonment, some on foreign shores. They are in the shadows. There is violence. There is despair. We take their jobs. We take their money. A tower moment for many in April. I want you to be careful, especially if you're protesting. We take their jobs. We take their money. I mean, that could be the least of your worries. There are surprise attacks. I don't know what that means, but there could be other groups within these protests that are causing problems, that are being planted there. They say the devil is watching even while you rest. Be very careful of your phone, your social media. That's how I took it. Whatever electronic device you have in your house, I feel like they're going to be spying on Americans that they feel are, I guess, riling up people in protest. You have to be very careful. There will be some people who really get hurt physically, emotionally, financially in the month of April. They're going to try to stop you. They are removing their burdens. Anyone who stands in their way. Don't be seen in the limelight. Practice self-care. The demon is real, not an illusion or fairy story. This is a tragedy. We control the narrative, but you can always make a deal. Give me what I want, and you are free. This is what we're up against, folks, in April. Okay? If you get in their way, they're going to remove you. There could be a variety of ways. The guides are saying, don't be in the limelight. That doesn't mean you can't speak out. That doesn't mean you can't protest or do whatever it is you feel the need to do. It means don't draw attention to yourself. If you can, if you're going to protest, wear a disguise. Like, find ways to not be out in the open. That's going to be really important because you might become a target. You have to be a bit stealth and really watch your electronic communications, because I feel like we're not safe as far as privacy there. And I'm not saying they're going to be listening to all of us. I'm just saying if you put yourself out in the open, you might become a target to be spied upon, so they can remove you in some way. The divided country turns to one another. In seeing the other's point of view, they begin to see they are the same. People begin to find their strength. When I face danger with courage and fortitude, I connect to my ancestors. I begin to get my fear in control. The people begin to gain confidence. Survival instinct kicks in. We are not going down without a fight. New connections, new bonds, a passionate commitment. The authoritarians begin to make commands, but I believe in America. I believe in the hope of our nation. Inside, I always will be free. Information, collaboration, organization using the internet. The resistance begins to organize. This is why we are here. This is our destiny. The youth will rise. New stars are born. People who inspire us. They help us remember our highest ideals. I see fire again. The quickening. You are going through a rapid transformation. During this time, focus on the mundane activities of life. Tend your garden, clean your house, bake your bread, eat your meals. Life can be truly simple. Your ordinary moments bring great insights. delight in simplicity. So in this last segment, I feel like my guides were trying to give us the big picture here. Some of this is going to happen in April, and I feel like they were projecting out a little bit so that you would remain hopeful. The things that are going to go down in April are going to be difficult. People are going to begin to rise because, as they said, survival instinct kicks in. You know, the first few months of this administration, shock and awe, right? Like one executive order after another. Before you know it, things are crumbling. What's happening? This is happening so fast. People's heads are spinning, right? But in April, because people are going to be stripped of some things, it's harder for me to get food. It's harder for me to pay my bills. I may be homeless. If I'm losing my Social Security, I have lost everything in a storm, and now the government won't help me. Whatever the situation, real life consequences are happening, which is pushing people into survival mode. When people go into survival mode, when it's real, when it's not just what's on Fox News and it's not some entertainment at his rally, when it's real and my life has been interrupted and I don't know what to do, I have to survive. I have to fight. I have to move into action. I have no choice. Reality has caught up with me. This is what's going to happen to so many people in April. And even though it becomes a dangerous and volatile time, it becomes the beginning of the resistance. And the resistance is made up of, as they said, a divided country turns to one another. People with different points of view begin to see they are the same, right? People are beginning to find their strength. They're in numbers. They're starting to feel less divided. They're starting to get more courageous. They're starting to realize when I own my power, when I empower myself to speak out, to do what I need to do to help my fellow Americans and to stand up against evil, I connect with my ancestors. I found that was interesting. You know, our ancestors fought for freedom in this country. And I know for me, I grew up in a golden time in America where there really wasn't much discomfort, really, or war that affected my particular generation. It did affect the generation of my children after 9/11. But for most of us, we've had a relatively peaceful and prosperous existence. And I'm saying most of us, so don't come after me and say, well, it's always been hard for me. Compared to other people in the world, the majority of Americans in the last 50 years have done pretty well. And learning about wars and hardship and the Great Depression. I know when I was a kid, I'd listen to my grandparents. I'd be like, okay, Grandpa, like it wasn't real. But this is a sense of we understand now. I understand what those people in the world wars went through. I understand the Great Depression. I understand the people during the Civil Rights Movement that finally had to stand up and put their own lives on the line so that people could be truly free. I understand the danger in it. I understand the liberation in it as well. I understand the sacrifices that they made so I could be free. People are going to get that in April in such a deep, personal way. And I am just so sad that it had to come to tragedy. Like when they said, this is a tragedy. It is a tragedy. It's all a tragedy. But for some reason, this is how we have to connect to this. This is how we have to empower ourselves to change the society the way we want to change the society, we the people. They said we are in the quickening, right? So this is the move to action. I know there are quickening references in the Bible, but I almost took it as like the quickening in a pregnancy. The first time we feel movement. We're going to feel movement during this month of April. We haven't been born yet. Like it hasn't gone full blown, but we're going to start to feel that movement. Young people are going to rise up. We're going to have new names, new heroes. For those of us who are older, it's true. Like, we can't be going out there and doing the hard protesting. Some of us can, but not all of us. But that's okay, because you're going to see young people beginning to rise. You're going to see the people who can work in new collaborative ways. And for those of us who just feel like I don't know what to do, Spirit's just saying, focus on those simple tasks. Baking bread. I love how they said baking bread. So I don't know if we need to be breaking bread in the future, but there's just some sense of simplicity. Maybe they used it as a metaphor for how things always used to be. And to focus on being present. I think simple activities help us to be present. We're going to be okay. I don't want you to interpret this as it's all over. It's actually the beginning of Americans rising to defend ourselves against our own government. But it's going to be difficult. And there are going to be hardships. And we're going to have to be careful. And there are going to be moments that are scary. But we have to hang in there. And we have to help each other. So that is my reading for April 2025. As always, it's a pleasure reading for you. Be careful out there. And I will see you in a couple weeks for my show, Spilling the Tea with Cindy. Until then, you have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.